Okay, good morning. I will get started. We'll get started. I'm Amber Donaldson. I'm the secondary director of ELA at the State Department. If you were in any of the other sessions, I'm like on day 10 of my job, my new job. I was a teacher. Yeah. I have a really big passion for technology in the classroom. I actually have a master's degree from East Central in educational technology, and it was fantastic. It was one of the best experiences that I've had as a professional student. And if I could go to college all the time and not have to pay for it, I would go. But plug for East Central, they were cheap and it was awesome. So, but I have a master's in ed tech. From there, I was one of the first graduating classes with that degree, and it served me well. We're going to talk a little bit today about technology in the classroom. I went from being, the way I kind of got into being, I'm not a techie by any means. I don't know how to IT plug in things. I don't know what gigabytes are or megabytes. I don't know. What I do know is how to use technology in a classroom to effectively help your instruction, help your kids' engagement level, and to kind of guide them in a direction that we want them to be. Because if you don't know or embrace it yet, we are in a technology age, and it is only going to get bigger and brighter and better. And if we're not sending our kids out in the world prepared to do those things, we're not doing them the service we need to do. So, my husband is a football coach and a principal, and we moved to a new district, and they had just passed a bond to get iPads in all the classrooms. They didn't have a plan. Like, he wasn't a part of that part. He just was there. They're like, here. Like, we showed up, and like 2 days later, I think there was a box of like 100 iPads or something, and they're like, here you go. And Rustin said, well, Amber got iPads at her old school. She can do it. And I said, I can do what? And he was like, well, you can implement this. And I said, okay. And then I did. And so we got our iPads out ready for our kids. My kids started, I got like classroom set iPads ready to go. In October, we were rolling pretty good and just kind of using them we put them out in September. By October, we're using them kind of, here and there. By December, it was every day. And fast forward 2 more years, I taught at Woodward the last 2 years. I was 100% digital, like paperless classroom. And I don't have statistics to back it up, but I can tell you that the excuse of I can't find it is really interesting, because when I give you all of your work on your iPad that is sitting in front of you, you can find it because it's right there. I lost that excuse. I can't find it. My sister threw it away. It's in my mom's car. Well, it's really not, because it's in your lap. Like, it literally is on your desk. And getting work back was much easier. I streamlined my grading process. It became a challenge to myself to how fast I could grade stuff. And so, I would give my kids like an assessment of some kind. And yes, it's multiple choice. We have to do that sometimes. Give them some kind of assessment. I could grade it and have it back to them in the same class period. That's how quick I could do it. And we're talking 20, 25, 30 question tests over something. And they loved it because they knew right then and there what they did and how they did. And if you don't know, feedback for kids is extremely important. So that's kind of my plug on embracing technology. I always get asked these are my 3 main questions I get asked. What does technology in the ELA classroom look like? I'd like to ask, is anybody in here a one-to-one district? You have one-to-one something? What do you have? I love you. What do you guys have? Yes, where are you from? Stratford. Peaches. Cushing, right? Yeah. Anybody else have like one-to-one-ish? Like, you can do it. See, I like that, because you're like, I know what that means. So what do you guys do?
We have Chromebook cards.
Okay. We check them out and stuff. Okay, that's kind of what you guys do. Somebody else, Chromebook cards and stuff. It's not, but it's something like that. Does anybody do like a bring your own device? You let your kids bring whatever they want if they want to? Yeah, you guys do that too. Computer labs. You have a computer lab at your school that you can use. Okay, does anybody not have any technology in their classroom at all, or at their school at all?
I'm not entirely sure. I think they're trying to get one online.
I'm sure you've got to have a computer lab somewhere, because okay, then we're good. The things I'm going to show you today, you can use in any of those facets. If you're one-to-one, we've got you. If you are like check out a cart, I've got you. If it is bring your own device, I've got you. If it's just a computer lab, I've got you there too. And also all the things I'm going to show you today are free. because we're teachers and we're poor. You didn't know. I told my grandma what I made one time, and she said, why? And I was like, what do you mean why? And she goes, why do you do that? And I was like, why do I do what? And she was like, why do you teach? I was like, I love it. I love shaping the minds of America, like our future. And she was like, for that little? I was like, yes. And so it was funny because when she found out I was moving jobs, because like I said, we live by Woodward, we're moving to Oklahoma City, but my husband is a principal, and so he's going to finish out his year at his school. And so my daughters, who are 6 and 5, told my grandma, well, we're getting a new house, and my dad's not coming with me. And so then the frantic phone call comes of, why did the girls just say you're getting a new house and that Rustin's not coming with you? And I said, well, here's the deal. And then she goes, well, do you get a pay raise? And I said, yeah. And I told her what it was. And she goes, why aren't you moving now? I said, oh, not yet. But I want to give you things that are useful. I don't want to just come up here and be like, oh, use this. And then you go to get it and you're like, well, that costs $65 a kid. So I want to give you things that are useful and some things that will help you. So when we talk about what it looks like, whatever you want it to, that's really, I mean, I know it seems generic, but if you have a computer lab that you can use and you want to go in and make one project and that's the technology used for the year, awesome. You're doing better than somebody who's not doing anything. If you go and you check out your Chromebooks every single day and you keep them, that's like me. At our school, we were one-to-one, kind of, because kids would forget their iPads sometimes, but they had to pay $25 to get them, and if they didn't, then we had a cart that you could grab extras from. Well, I had a class that I had 9 kids who didn't have iPads at all, for whatever reason. We had parents that wouldn't sign off to get their iPads, which to me was like, so they can't have a textbook either, because it's the same thing. They didn't agree with me for some reason. I don't know, whatever. But, and so we had, what I would do is I would get to school early, and I don't get to school. I have 3 kids, and they're all, like, my oldest is 8, so I don't get to school early. It's not a thing we do at our house. So I would purposely, if I knew I had something big I was going to do that day, like a project that I had to have, you know, whatever, I would get to school early and, like, go get them. And then, like, one time this teacher, who she's not really the biggest fan of mine, I don't know why, but she was like, do you know where any iPads are? I was literally, like, walking in my, like, desk, and so I was like, I don't know. Like, sitting on them. This is a real story. I'm not making this up. She goes, you don't know where the iPads are? The cart's empty. And I was like, I don't. So I'm like hovering because I don't want to sit on them and break them. But I'm like, I don't. Because she was going to take them. I know she was. All of them. And not bring them back. And she was like, are you sitting on them? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, I can see that you're sitting on an iPad. I was like, how many do you need? She's like, well, I'll just take 2. And I gave her the 2, the one that I was actually sitting on, just to make it purpose. But they became like black market kidneys, man. Everybody was wanting an iPad. And the reason is because the kids they get so excited when you're like, we're in a computer lab. They're like, yes! It's like when we were in school and the teacher rolled in the TV on the cart and you're like, heck today. Yes, I'm glad I wasn't sick today. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's real. And the kids, like, you bring out, like, we're going to do some of the iPads today. Get your iPads out. It is automatic. The automatic engagement level goes up. And what happens is, the argument I get back a lot of times is, well, they're just going to get on Netflix, or they're going to look at bad stuff, and yada, yada. They're not going to do their work. My response is, so when you do the traditional way of teaching, they're turning in everything, every kid's turning in their work, and then it usually gets like that, because they don't. And I was like, you're going to have kids that aren't going to do their work. It doesn't matter if you got up and did a 3-ring circus act, they don't care. That's what it is. But I promise you, I will tell you that if you have a class of 30, you have 10 that are going to do it no matter what, because they are those kids and they're awesome and we love them. Then you're going to have 10 that are like, meh, what else? That last group of 10, you got 5 that are like, she brings out an iPad, I'll consider it. And you have 5 that are like, I don't care what she does. It's going to happen no matter what you do. But if you can get those 5 that were like on the fence, you just got 5 more kids to learn something. That's what we want. And by proxy, if the kids start having fun and they see their friends having fun, you'll see it. They're like, scoot over a little bit. Like, you're like, no, don't be looking at their work. You don't want to do work. Get out of here. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I do. Like, I'm going to make something really cool. I get to make a video with, like, my face on it. Oh, okay, maybe I'll do it. And throughout the year, I promise you'll get 2 or 3 more. I've seen it happen. So it's kind of whatever you want it to look like. How do you know what works best? People ask me all the time, well, what's the best thing to use? I don't know. There's about 7,000 million apps, extensions, things out there for teachers. If you find something that works for you, awesome. Use it. I'm going to give you a couple of things just to get started. But then some of the things, I mean, I literally had kids one time, I was like, we're gonna make infographics. I saw this really cool app. So I said, get it. I had never used it, ever. I just saw it one time. It worked great, it was awesome. But that is a level of control that you have to be willing to give up, because that's the thing. Teachers, we like control. We like to control our classrooms. We like structure. Good. When you start using technology, you have to be willing to let some of that go, because you have to have, I don't know everything there is to know about technology, but I do know that being able to give, if I have an app that I want to use next week, if I say, hey guys, get this app, there are 30 people in that classroom that will review it. And kids are the most critical people in the world. Like, if you don't know that already, if you're new to this, they're very critical. You better be on your game. But they will. They'll be like, and what we kind of started doing is with apps and stuff that I wanted to try out, I would tell them, like, hey, I want to try this app. Well, some of you check it out, see what's good, bad, whatever. They would tell me, like, I had kind of a list. Like, is it free? Does it work with Google Classroom? Does it, like, I had a list of questions, and they would do it for me. They would do all the reviewing, and that's 30 minds looking at something where I would just have one. And that's really awesome. And you've got to be able to, you know, feel confident enough to do that. And some of the apps you're going to get are going to be crappy, and you're not going to use them, and that's okay too. It's fine. What lessons should I use technology with? All of them. I mean, I believe that. I mean, you can use it with simple as making their vocabularies for that unit on Quizlet, and they make flashcards, something like that. You can go as detailed as having, you know, have them make these beautiful research posters because they wrote a research paper in their senior English class and they need to present that information somehow. It literally does not matter how you use it and what lessons you use it with. I just think you should use it. Because once you see the benefits, you're more likely to try it again. And then the kids get excited and they see that you're excited because they're excited, and it's just an awesome thing that happens. So a couple of the things that we're gonna talk about. These are 2 tools that I want to tell you about for you as a teacher, because I'm all about trying to help you do your job better and more efficiently. So how many of you are Google schools? Yes. Use Google Classroom, folks. It's where it's at. I love it. If you're not a Google school but you're a teacher, I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting a Google email account, like a Gmail account, because you get this fantastic little thing called the Drive. Right there. It's so cool. It's like the mecca. It's so cool. Google Drive gives you access to Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and forms. Those are basically the equivalent of what Microsoft Word was, but it's way better. It's way, way better. And it's awesome. So if you haven't played around with it a lot, there's some really cool things to do. But what happens was I would start like gathering information for a lesson. Like I told the other group, I used the literature textbook maybe 4 times last year. I got everything I needed off of the internet, somewhere, somehow gathering information. So we were going to do this big presentation. We're doing this big unit over the Holocaust. So I started pulling information. What happens with Google Drive, you have to download it, and then you have to upload it back. And it's kind of a pain. And I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. Well, I found this nifty extension on Google Drive, and I just right-click when I find a PDF or a picture or a video that I like, and it dumps it in my Drive automatically, which is so cool. And then if you organize your Drive the right way, it will put the most recent things at the top. So then when you're done for that, you've gathered 14 different articles and 3 videos and 2 pictures. They're all right there, and you can just drag them and put them in a folder, all right there. And so it makes it a lot better, because what happens a lot of times if you're at a school like I've been at, you get all this stuff, you start printing it off, and then you got to go down to the printer and get it, and then you come back and you have this stack, and you're like, oh, I already have that twice. And, well, I don't know how I'm going to connect this video to this, and I've got to put this in a file folder that goes in this giant metal cabinet that if the building ever burns down, I'm pushing it out before I push the kids out, because that's everything I'm ever going to teach ever. You know what I'm talking about? See? She's like, I know where it is too, and it's on wheels to get it out fast. Think of your Drive. See, she's pointing. She's like, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, she knows. See?
That's my coworker back here.
Your Drive. The Drive is awesome because you can access it anywhere. Like I can get on my phone right now and get on my Google Drive and look at stuff and mess with it and send it to people. And so when you can organize it, it will make your life a lot easier, because it's kind of like, you know, when you go to try to find that one worksheet that you have that's somewhere in that folder, and it's like it opens and like angels sing and lights come out of it because it's just so beautiful, but it's still hard to find. Google Drive is so good. I'm telling you, when you go Google Drive, you like never go back. The other one, and if you don't know, I will post all this later. To add extensions, this is kind of how you do it. You just go to the Google Chrome Web Store and search in whatever it is you're looking for.
Does Google Drive have like a tutorial?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
For how to
Oh yeah.
Because I had my last class before I graduated, my last semester I did advanced comp and everything was on Google Drive. And I love how it was integrated because the students had direct access to everything and so did the teacher.
Right.
So it was so easy, but I want to be in that teacher's.
Oh yeah. I will tell you the most awesome thing ever about Google, like using Google Classroom and Drive, is that if you use Google Classroom and you give your kids an assignment, what I always find in my classroom is sometimes kids don't work all the time. Like it's weird. They're not working the entire hour we're there. But it's hard sometimes to recognize it because if like you're supposed to be like working on something, you know, well with Google Classroom, if you post an assignment, you can see from the teacher's side what they're doing in real time. Like if a kid is typing, you can see the keystrokes as they go along. So I have this kid, he's back there and he's working on his iPad and I've been helping some other kids. He's just going to town and I was like, man, his fingers are flying really fast. Doesn't seem like it'd be an appropriate speed for typing or like gaming. So I'm like, come over here and I'm like, he's not paying attention, right? So I popped his assignment up on the board and it was like last edit was made 47 minutes ago and class is over in 2 more minutes. And I was like, hey, Corbin. And he's like, what? Yeah. Just real interested in what I'm saying now. And I was like, hey, how's your assignment going? He goes, it's good. I'm almost done. I was like, really? This even looks like your paper and your name, and it kind of looks like there's nothing done on it. And like you see his face just like, like everything. It's like that moment in Lion King when Simba realizes all the wildebeest are about to run over him, and you know the camera's like this and he does that. It's kind of like that. And the rest of them realize that I can see what they're doing, and then I don't have that problem near as much because they don't like to be embarrassed. It's weird. I don't know. But kids, especially 7th graders, are not the biggest fans of being embarrassed. So, and I don't necessarily do that to like be embarrassing, but it's to prove like, hey, do your work because I can see what you're doing. And so that's one of the awesome things about Google Classroom that I'm a huge fan of, and I could like, yeah, go on about that forever, but I won't.
What do you do? I'm in a small school, and a lot of times our internet is not 100% reliable. I would love to go to Google Classroom all the time, and it has nothing to do with our internet directory. It's straight up just our internet.
We have the same problem. We have the same problem at our school. But
Say I can help with that. I mean, there is money available for you to get better broadband, and
so go talk to
I
that
wrote
guy.
that down. I have that in the first class. That's just what I'd be afraid of. All my assignments are on there, and then, you know, we had last year, internet was literally down for 3 days in a row.
Oh yeah, we had it happen.
So
I mean, I had it happen at my school. I mean, because we were kind of the same way. We had a new building we were in, and they put these little Wi-Fi boxes that they don't have in here. But like mine wouldn't. I had one in my classroom, and it wouldn't work. It's just like that. I had one in my classroom, and it was supposed to be. All of them are supposed to be student Wi-Fi. Mine in my room, the kids had to switch to guest Wi-Fi. It was the weirdest thing, but we figured out through our tech people and through some other things, like what was happening, and so we were able to fix some of that. Like one of our things was like, these little boxes are supposed to be able to hold like so many devices. When I walked in myself, I was pulling for 3 because I had my iPad, my phone, and my computer. And so it's only supposed to, let's say it's supposed to hold 30, well, I'm already taking up 3. And then every kid that walks in there, their phones are on, and their parents don't want them to use data, so they're like, get on the Wi-Fi. And so they were draining it. So we figured out how to fix that. But I'm sure it is not an issue. It's not something that you're isolated in that. It happens everywhere. My thing is, if you can start integrating it little by little, it will help you be able to, once you get to a point where you can do it all the time, you'll be ready to go. But I would, start with Google Classroom. It's awesome.
we do some. I need to get it.
You'll let it.
That's just my only fear.
It is, and the good thing is if you can set, do you have your Chromebook, is that what you said?
No, we don't have.
Okay.
Chromebooks.
Well, there's a setting on Drive that you can make things available offline. And that's something I would do. So they could still pull their, like if you had like an assignment on there that they were doing, they could still do it. But they just have to wait till the Wi-Fi is back up to submit it, which is fine too. So we have, my other one that I want to talk about a little bit is Grammarly. I'm an English teacher by trade, but I am terrible at grammar. I can write you the sweetest story you've ever heard, but I cannot decide where the commas go. It was, I don't know what happened there, but we have, like, Woodward's a very big emailing school. We, like, email everyone about everything. Like, reply all is, like, the golden button, and I'm like, no. So there was, like, a lady that I would not email because I know she's, like, a grammar Nazi, and she terrified me, so I, like, wouldn't email her because I didn't want her to, like, tear my stuff apart. And then I found Grammarly. So Grammarly is basically a way to check your writing on all the things that you write. And this is a little video, and it's my favorite, so I'll show it to you.
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague, or a post on Facebook that all your friends will see, or a paper for your English class that you just have to get an A on, or a resume for your dream job, or a message to your crush on a dating site. The point is that you write important things each and every day. And whether you're an English professor or an English learner, we all could use a second pair of eyes to help us make sure we're always putting our best foot forward. Enter Grammarly, a writing app developed by some of the world's leading linguists. Grammarly helps you find and fix grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors wherever you write. Errors that other spelling and grammar checkers just can't catch. Grammarly also helps you improve word choice and style, making your writing clear and compelling all the time. Best of all, it's free. Better writing, better results. Click on the button to download Grammarly now.
Grammarly is fantastic. I'm telling you, if you have your kids write blogs, which is awesome, it works with Gmail, it works with Facebook, it works with Twitter. It will, like, it has this little green thing next to it, and it will, like, edit it. It'll tell you, like, you totally used the wrong "your" there. And the great thing about Grammarly is it tells you why they want you to change it, which is cool because it kind of helps me learn a little bit as I go along. Some people, I would push this out for teachers to use because it just helps you. I mean, it makes it a little bit easier. But I am okay with having them on laptops as an extension. And my reason is because, like, we have it, one of my co-teachers, or was, I guess, she had her kids do, when they did their independent reading, they had to do blogs over certain topics each week. And it was like, you know, describe your protagonist and how does it compare to someone you know and all these things. Well, they would write these blogs. Her blogs were about content. She wasn't worried about the grammar, but using Grammarly, it would basically tell them why they needed to change things. And so by proxy, they're learning a little bit of grammar things while they're doing it. And then what she reads is easier to read. So things like that, I think Grammarly really works really well with because it's for the kids side of it, but for you, like, I mean, yes, I'm an English teacher, but no, I'm not perfect at grammar by any means, and punctuation and those things. And I'm always like, I need a different word for this. And it works really, really well. So I'm a huge, huge fan of Grammarly. My other one that like I said, Google, oh, there it is. Save to Google Drive is awesome, and you can, like, check that out, and I'm super, super good. I said technology-infused lessons because you can put as much or little as you want with these different apps. So I have 3 things that I want to talk to you about today: Edpuzzle, Canva, and Ribbit. Does anybody know anything about any of these?
Canva.
Yes. How do you know about Canva?
I do photography also, and so I use it for ads.
Don't you love it?
Yes. Oh, God.
It is. Thank you.
I mean, the whole thing, the interface is just beautiful.
It is. Oh, I'm so glad. It is, like, my favorite thing in the entire world. We're gonna get to it because it's good stuff. Edpuzzle is something that I think most teachers can really appreciate because of what it does. So we're gonna talk about each one of these. They all are for different purposes. So I will, Edpuzzle basically is an app. There's an app and a website that you have the ability to take videos and embed questions, whether they're multiple choice, open-ended, or even audio things. Like, you can record yourself saying, hey, this next part's really important. The awesome thing is the kids cannot fast forward. They have to watch it. You know when you're in college and you have to watch a video lecture by your professor and they're awesome because they're sitting like this and they're looking like this and they never blink. And you're like, how are you doing that? And you just go, and you're like, oh, got it, watched it, it was great. They can't do that with Edpuzzle, which is cool. It links up seamlessly when you sign up. It recognizes that you have a Google email or you're a Google school, and it will automatically pull your Google Classroom, which is great. But if you don't have Google, that's okay. It will let you make a classroom. Like you can make a class of Edpuzzle. There are some really great things. I have a quick little video. The guy has a cool accent, so you'll kind of have to listen, but I can explain whatever you don't get.
Do you want to create amazing video lessons in minutes? Edpuzzle is your amazing piece. In Edpuzzle, you can find wonderful educational videos from YouTube, LearnZillion, Khan Academy, Vimeo, or even reuse video lessons from other teachers or upload your own. Then you can make the perfect lesson using Edpuzzle editing tools. You can trim a video and take only what you need for your lesson. You can also record your voice to make a warm introduction or explain with your own words. Finally, you can embed questions during the video to check the understanding of your students. In minutes, you created the perfect lesson, and in just one click, you can assign it to your students. Edpuzzle provides you all the information you need. Who hasn't watched the video, who doesn't understand the lesson, and who did a good job. Remember, in Edpuzzle, you can find amazing educational videos, make the perfect lesson in minutes, and track your students with hassle-free analytics. With Edpuzzle, you can make any video your lesson.
The cool thing about Edpuzzle is, like it says, you can pull videos from anywhere. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. You can pull them from anywhere. You can pull them from YouTube. You can pull them from Vimeo. You can make your own. You can cut them. So, if, like, here's an example. If I was going to read The Giver and we read a passage and I wanted them to compare it to the video version, and I didn't want the whole video, I just wanted a piece, I would cut it down to just that and, like, insert, like, I would record myself saying, hey, make sure you pay attention to the shift in color in this part of the thing. And then at the end of the video, I have a question. Like, how do those two things, how does the passage that we read and the visual, how do they compare? How is it different than what you thought? And that's it. But you can do, I don't do them any longer than like 8 to 10 minutes. That's getting pretty long because they won't watch them. Because you know on Facebook when videos are up, I look to see how long it is. If it gets much more than like 4 or 5 minutes, I'm done. Like I'm over it. So I wouldn't do anything longer than 8 to 10, and that's kind of pushing it. Make separate ones. There is hundreds that are already made. So if you were wanting a video on like an introduction to narrative writing, there's probably one on there already that you can just pick and choose and you can use and edit it however you want to. It's really good. You can have your kids create videos. So like if you want them to teach some things, it's always, you know, if they really know it, they could teach it to someone else. And so have your kids, they can create their own. I put on here that it's really good for kids who finish early, great for ELL and special ed kids. Because what happens is, like your ELL kids, if you're reading something, they have on YouTube, there's that way they start making that connection. Special ed kids, a lot of times, you lecturing is not helping them. If they can see what you're talking about, like, you know, they have great videos that are made over, you know, plot max and how they're like stair-stepped and the climax is the, you know, biggest part or whatever. Things like that. I have had videos that I've attached to for my students that I like basically will just pause the video and be like, hey, make sure you're paying attention. I'll be like, yo, what's up? Like stupid stuff like that. But they're like, why did you do that? I'm like, I'm just making sure you're paying attention. And so this one's really, really good. I think it's really good to take a quick lesson. Like tomorrow you're gonna talk about like poetry. You're gonna talk about Langston Hughes tomorrow. Have them watch a real quick video, and that way tomorrow when they come in, they already have some background knowledge, and then you can be like, what was the most interesting thing you watched about Langston Hughes? What'd you like? Because what happens, you know, I see it in middle school a lot. I will give a bunch of information, and then I'm like, hey, do you have any questions? And I think it gives them the ability to kind of take that information and process it for a minute. And sometimes you'll spark some curiosity and they'll go find out more things about them, which is kind of cool too. So that's my Edpuzzle. Canva is the most wonderful thing ever. It is basically a design tool that your kids can use. Anything you would have them do on a poster board, have them make on Canva. If you were gonna have them do a research poster, have them do it on Canva. One, it's beautiful, says my friend back here, and it really is. It's very easy to use. It's free. And one of the cool things that I recognized this year, you can create teams. So let's say you guys were doing like a biography unit and you wanted your kids to make a poster on the person they looked up for their bio or whatever. What happens is you and I are going to be, we're working partners, and I'm going to bring the poster board and she's bringing the glue and the glitter. Well, then she forgets the glue and the glitter. And she was like, oh, I know. Or the other side is we're going to make a PowerPoint. Well, I can only work on it right now. And then you can sit beside me and then we'll switch. But then we're really going to talk about things that have nothing to do with the PowerPoint because you're not working in your board, so you're going to talk to me. With Canva, you can make teams so both people can work on the same thing at the same time.
That works with slides too.
Yes,
right?
Slides does, yes. Slides is the same way. Slides just can't get as pretty as this,
Right.
really. I have a couple of examples, but you can do resumes, posters, banners, social media posts, pretty much anything you can think of to make infographics. I mean, anything, it has it on there. They have like templates. Then they have like blank things that you could like design you could say, I want my page to be, 12 inches wide by 6 inches, and it will give you those dimensions. So when you print it out, it's that exact size, however you don't want to do it. It's really awesome. So I have a couple of examples that I chose. Can you flip those laptops just for a second? Fantastic. All right, so this one right here, I had my students, I had pre-AP kids this year, and I had them, we did with this huge Holocaust unit, and I wanted them to do movie posters. So they had watched a movie based on an actual person or event that happened in the Holocaust. Then they had to they had to research the actual event and tell me all about it. Then when they watched the movie, they came up with a list of this is accuracies, these are things that were actually happened, these are things that are inaccurate. And then they had to make movie posters. Well, what I wanted to happen was I wanted our tech department, or not our tech department, I wanted to get them printed because we have this big museum that basically the kids do all this research and build all these cool projects, and then we have parents come and check them out. And so last year we had like 700 people come through the museum. So this year I was like, we're gonna be bigger and better. I want to do this awesome. So I wanted them to make movie posters, and they were gonna print them. So the Career Tech Center that is just right outside of Woodward, they were like, yeah, we'll print them. And I was like, yes, because I wanted them to be like 32 by 24, like real movie posters. I was so excited because I thought that's what they understood when I said movie posters. So we get out there and I'm like, here's what I want. She's like, oh yeah. How many do you want? And I was like, well, I have like 16 because they partnered up. And she was like, oh, how big are they? And I was like, 24 by 32, you have a big printer. And she was like, oh, I thought you were kidding. And I was like, I'm not kidding. We kind of went back and forth, and I was like, well, how many can you print? And she was like, 1. And I was like, no, I'm not picking. She was like, well, pick your favorite. No, that's not happening. And so we kind of went back and forth and haggled, and I got her to do them 11 by 18, which I was sort of happy. So my kids made those posters. We laminated them, hung them around the room in the museum. And the cool thing was they did a lot of work. They did a lot of research. Nobody was going to read their research paper. Like, that's not going to happen. Even if you had a room full of English teachers coming through, they're not going to pick up every research paper and read it. It's just not going to happen. So we were able to take their hard work they did, put it in a presentation form that people could look at and enjoy and thought it was cool. So what I did was we set up an iPad and let people vote for their favorite poster. My students think it's really cool to they try to follow me on Instagram all the time because they're like, they want to be friends with me, and I'm like, we're not friends. And I tell them that the whole year. They also think it's super cool, like the Twitter thing. They don't understand it really, so they just think it's this magical thing that's they're not supposed to do. So they're always like, I saw your Twitter. And I'm like, okay. And so I told them, I said, the winning poster will tweet out. I'll tweet it out. And I was like, I have all of 300 followers. So I was like, this is big time. And so what I did was we took the winning poster, and it was like, I said, well, Canva made it. Or that was the platform we used. So I was like, Canva, we want to give a shout out to Canva for this awesome platform to make this project. Here's the winning poster from the 2017 Woodward Holocaust Museum. Tweet it out. So it's up on the board, and we're talking. We keep going. The kids are so pumped. They're like, yes, we're on our Twitter. This is so cool. Well, 30 seconds later, it's like, Canva has replied. Canva's a company out of Australia. They're based out of Australia. They had replied to us and said, this is so cool. We love it. We're so glad you used our product. So the kids were pumped. I'm talking Seriously, like you would have thought a celebrity walked in and nothing happened. It was just like on my Twitter feed. Right after that, Canva retweets them. Canva has 80,000 followers. So 80,000 people saw my kid from rural Northwest Oklahoma's work. When I tell them that, they were like, oh my God, all of Oklahoma just saw my work. And they're just like freaking out. And they're just like running, they're like jumping. And they're like, do you know this? Do you understand? And I'm like, Jesus, why have I not been doing this longer? And I was like, so then we discussed about 80,000 and like how big that is. And then we were like, and some kids like, okay, well, like, I mean, where are they? So we discovered they're in Australia, and we get through, and they're like, I bet the president saw it. I'm like, I bet he did. Like, it was, you know, it was this huge thing, and the kids were just so excited. And then it became this thing was like, hey, are we gonna tweet something out next? Like, what are we doing next? Like, are we gonna, like, are you gonna put something on the board? Like, what are we doing? And what I realized was the side of it was the power of social media. This platform is fantastic. Canva is beautiful, and I love it. I seriously do. And once you start playing with it, you will too. But the thing is that their work, what they were producing for me, got better because they wanted people to see it. What happens in secondary education is we don't worry so much about sending gold stars home to our parents, but our kids are still at the age where they care what other people think. They want to be praised for good work. And so doing this sort of thing, a lot of people saw their work, and that was really important to them. They liked that a lot. And they knew what they had done was good work. And so we started kind of like random times I would tweet something out that the kids had done, and they just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And we would show them, like we had a TV in the cafeteria. So when my kids would do something digital like that, I would put it in a slideshow, and it would play throughout lunch. The first time I did that, they didn't know I was going to do it, and so they like walk in. And so at one point at lunch, the 6th and 7th graders are in there, so there's about 400 kids in there. And a kid noticed his project was on the board, like on this TV that everybody sees, and he was like, what is happening? Why is that there? And I was like, because I'm showing off your work. And they just freak out because they care a lot about what their peers think. And they were like, what if, like, people are going to see it? I'm like, yeah, exactly. Then you see it kind of be like, hey, look, mine's coming up next. Like, look, did you see that? Then other kids are learning things from my kids. My students' work is up there, and it's teaching other kids. Even if they didn't want to learn, they read it because they're like, they want to find out what's wrong with it, which is funny because I'm like, you wouldn't know what was wrong with it if you could. But they started pulling in, they started really like digging in and liking to do these things because they were doing all the work. They were following the standards, but they were able to put it in a form that was so pretty and cool and awesome. And it was something that they weren't getting to do elsewhere. It was an outlet for them that they really, really enjoyed. And I think that's part of the power of social media because I have told my group several times, it seems like in Oklahoma, and I don't know why, but a lot of people feel like social media is like for 3 things. One is to buy like a pair of Uggs from someone on Facebook and on social media. The second thing is to find a date. Choose your platform. And the third thing is like you're going to be a murder victim because someone on Craigslist is going to kill you. So it's like those things are like social media. Like it has such a bad rap. It has such a negative rap. And even our parents are like, you know, I don't want my kid like on social media. And so then they start like hiding it, and then that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But this was showed the positive power. My kid, like literally 80,000 people saw my students' work. Whether they ever acknowledged it in any way, shape, or form, my kids know, those girls that made that project know that 80,000 people, it popped up on 80,000 different feeds on Twitter. That is powerful. If you don't think it is, you can go ask those girls because they'll tell you it was. It was awesome. It was like a huge day for them. One was like, can I text my mom and tell her? And I was like, of course you can. I mean, it was a big thing for them. And I think that we need to be able to, as teachers, we need to be able to use social media for the good. Show off our kids' work. Show off what they're doing. Because in Oklahoma, and I'm sure you've heard, we're getting this situation where we don't get paid very much. We kind of alluded to that earlier. And it's hard for people to see us as being professionals. We're just teachers, right? You hear that? You're just a teacher. I had a lady at Maurice's who was like, oh, don't you coach or something? I was like, no, I teach. And she goes, oh, you're just a teacher? And I was like, and you just work at retail? I mean, you know, and not trying to be snarky, but I mean, as a profession, we have to be able to embrace these things and be like, I'm going to show off my kids' work. I'm doing a lot of work in here, and I'm doing it with little pay, little resources, and sometimes we're very isolated, especially being rural Oklahoma. And I think I'm going to show up. I'm going to show the world what my students are doing in, I'm trying to think of a small town here, Butner. She was here earlier. Like, I'm going to show my kids what, I'm going to show off what kids in Butner, America are doing, right? Like, that's kind of impressive. That, considering all the things that are happening to us right now, you're still being able to put out this awesome work that your kids are doing. So that's something that I think that you definitely should embrace. How many of you teach, like, upper secondary, like 10, 11, 12? 10, 11, 12? A big thing is it's very competitive to get scholarships right now. It's very competitive to go to college. And one thing is, you know, you submit a resume, and I think you should talk about this with other grades too, but specifically for them. When you submit resumes, they always look the same. They're a white paper, your name is big as the, you know, some of you are like, how many of you have been teaching less than 5 years? Yeah, there we are. Okay. So when you're looking for jobs, if you submit a traditional resume, that's great. A lot of districts want that. But if you and 12 other people are looking for that third grade job, or not third, I shouldn't say, that was weird. That 7th grade job, if all your resumes look the same, like what makes you stand out from everybody else? I think it's really important to make yourself stand out. And so Canva has like a resume maker thing, and I made that on Canva, and I like, because when they are printing out resumes for jobs, scholarships, whatever it happens to be, that physically stands out. Like, that looks different on paper. And therefore, you're going to look at that, and then it kind of shows off the technology side. Like, I can do this. I mean, it's pretty, I'm no graphic designer by any means, but I played with this long enough to make something really cool. And like I said, this is not necessarily your traditional one. I mean, I have my, like, degrees right there. Those are the colleges I went to. Those are, like, professional things that I've been a part of. You have to sell yourself. I mean, you really do. Because if you want to get into, like, if you want to teach at a place, a different place, and 14 other people want to teach at that place too, you got to make yourself the best candidate. And so things like that are really cool. And I think for college kids, being able to go to a school and be like, I made this here. Look at my resume. Look at all the things I've done. Well, so is this other person, but mine looks different. And you automatically, visually, you look at that one different. You'll pull it. It'll get set to the side to look at because it looks different. So something to think about on that. I will tell you my other one on this is Ribbit. I had my students, anybody teach, do anybody do timelines? Do any of you do timelines when you're teaching? Yes, do timelines. Compare and contrast stuff. Do compare and contrast. Like a sequence of events, that kind of thing. Those are things that we do a lot of times when we teach novels. I did a lesson plan or a lesson unit over impact of media. My students weren't born when 9/11 happened. So we try to kind of cover that the first part of September. And I used to have my kids do traditional timelines. They're such a pain in the butt to grade because when they make their own and you like turn it sideways and the writing is like this big and you're like, oh my gosh. So I kind of thought, you know what, I'm going to see what I can do with the pic collage. If you say pic collage in front of your girl students, they're going to lose their minds because they do it on Instagram every day. They're going to be like, oh, I know what that is. Pic collage, which this is like a collage maker, and this one has an app and it has an online or a web-based version. Basically, you can make a picture collage. What I had my students do when we did 9/11, I wanted to make sure they understood the timeline of like when it started, when it finished. So my regular students had to have 6 panels. They had to be able to tell me in some way when the start was, what was happening in the middle, what happened at the end, and then had some text kind of identifying the events as they were going along. But I had a couple of special ed kids in my class that year, it was last year, that were pretty severe and profound. They had to have an aide with them. They were really sweet kids, but they required a lot of extra assistance. So my assignment for them, my mods were they had to do 3 panels, but they still had to show me beginning, middle, end, and they had to kind of do all those things. But I was like, let's see how this works. I'm just going to kind of try it out. And I'm going to give you, these are the 2 boys. There are 2 boys in my class, and this is their work. This is what they did. So if you notice, this one says the beginning, has a time, it says after, and then it says the aftermath. They kind of put all this stuff together. This one says the beginning, almost over, and aftermath. I am able, by looking at it, so first my grading point of it, it's easy to grade. This is visually easy to grade. But the skill I was wanting them to know is being able to analyze the media, so they got to pick different pictures. 2, I wanted them to understand the sequence of events. By looking at this, I know they can. And they were very, very proud of themselves because they made these pretty much by themselves. They were able to just drag and drop pictures. You know, the aide helped them a little bit as we kind of went along, But the interesting thing here is they were able to do the same work as their peers. It's cut down, but that's okay. But they were able to do the same thing. Their peers were on a piece of technology. They were so proud of themselves. They were like, look, you know, and they know what I wanted them to know. I wanted to know they understood sequence of events and timeline, and they did. How easy is that to grade? Like, oh, yep, we're good. This is something that's really awesome. Anytime you want to do plot maps, do them like this. And here's the cool thing about this. You don't necessarily have to put pictures in them. You can just put text boxes. So it's a cool way to move the text boxes around, because sometimes that's kind of hard to do. And plot maps especially, because like I want my kids' plot maps to be accurate. I don't want them to just be like a mountain and be done. I want them to have like little ridges, and like I'm kind of a freak about that. But this is really cool for that. Anytime you're trying to do compare and contrast, have them take a picture of a piece of text, and on one side they compare all the things that are the same, and then the next side they contrast everything. And at the bottom have it explain how they are even related. Things like that are really, really awesome, and they're easy implementation. They're easy to implement. Your kids have probably used PicCollage. They'll probably, if you've said that in your classroom, they'll probably have 4 that they really like that you could use. And they'll be like, this one's really good for this. It has great filters. And you're going to be like, that part doesn't matter to me. But I say that because the kids will get into this stuff because they're familiar with it. So if they learn something in the process, not a bad trade-off. It's not a bad trade-off. So I have these are kind of some aspects to think about. So student engagement is increased by using technology. They get on board with you. They really will. Thank you. When we talk about the role that the teacher plays, sorry, that's super bright. The role that you need to play as a facilitator, do not feel like you have to be a dictator. Okay? There's going to be things that the kids are going to do, and their process is a little different maybe than what you would like. Be a facilitator. Give them the options that here's this assignment, this paper assignment we would normally do, but here's some apps that you could use to make it or do this with. Let them kind of be the leaders of their own learning, because I think that's really important. And then one of the things with technology helping students have better understanding, I have seen it happen multiple times. My kids who are introverts, who will never discuss things when we have classroom discussions, they're not saying anything. They're just not going to. They are able to create things, make things, post things digitally that they would never be able to feel comfortable doing out loud. And so it gives them that outlet, and it also gives them a way to express themselves, which I think is awesome. And what I've seen happen a lot of times, your kids who probably aren't your most popular kids are really good at the technology things. They become very popular when we do tech things. And it's really awesome because their peers come to them, and it helps you create a little bit of balance, because it's like, wait a minute, like she's really good at this app. Like, and I would do that. I'd be like, you know, Sarah knows how to do this one really, really well. Go with Sarah. I also would suggest to you, when you're doing apps and stuff, I created a wall on my classroom that was like an FAQ wall, like frequently asked questions. When we were using a new app, so go to an hour board, and as we figured out what the answer was, they put the answer under it. So then I don't have to answer them over and over and over again, because you will. And then you're like, I don't want to use this anymore. We got to the point where my kids would ask a question, and somebody would ask a question that's already been answered. And I remember one day, like I was helping a kid at front, and somebody asked some ridiculous question, already been answered, and the entire class goes like this. They all pointed to the board because the answer was up there. That's something to think about too, because you feel like you have to remember all the answers. You don't. You really, really don't. So if you want to tweet me, that's my handle. And I encourage you to be on Facebook and Twitter. Be active, show off your kids' work, show off the things you do, because like I want to know what you guys are doing. Like I think it's cool to see things that teachers are doing in their classrooms that are working, because people think that the only way you can use technology is if you have these beautiful, fully equipped, you know, Chromebook labs and in the classroom. And that's not true. I mean, you can do some really awesome things with having a cart or one computer lab, and I think that's important to show off. So I hope you guys have learned something. If you need anything ever, please send me an email, tweet me, or message me on Facebook. I'll do my very best to be your friend. So thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're welcome.